Okay, let's continue with the bookshelf tour. Move on to Neil Stephenson. Neil Stephenson, who I probably first came to with Snow Crash, but let's just go in chronological order of my affair with Neil Stephenson. Starting off with his The Big U, which is the novel he completely disowns, which you should do for the for all novels. It's Back to the Big U, that is, a hilarious send-up of American college life starring 30-year-old junior Kashmir Radon, now issued after years out of print. Very kind of sort of Pynchon-esque in its way, which is maybe one of the reasons for the embarrassment of the novel. It's campus life as well, but with a lot of the characters, it's got the kind of those characters who know everything kind of stuff. Next we have his Zodiac book, which is kind of like eco thriller with a very Heinlein-esque key guy at the beginning who is really good at sabotaging kind of the corporations to make the maximum kind of political publicity statement. 2 centuries after the Boston Tea Party, harbor dumping is still a favorite local sport. Only this time it's the major corporations piping toxic waste into the water. Environmentalists and professional pain in the ass, Sagaman, I think it's Pynchon-esque in his names of his characters. Sagaman Taylor is Boston's modern-day Paul Revere, spreading the word from a 40-horsepower Zodiac graft. Embarrassing powerful corporations is a highly telegenic way is a perfect method of making enemies, and Taylor has collection that would do any rabble rouser proud. So yes. And then he goes from being kind of more kind of literary, kind of eco thriller, to probably his biggest claim to fame, which is kind of a cyberpunk guy, which I'd say he probably quickly outgrew, but that's with the novel Snow Crash, which is a wacky kind of Bugs Bunny version of cyber fiction, with a villain who has poor impulse control tattooed across his forehead. It's a very, very kind of slapstick, kind of has all the kind of stuff of tropes of kind of like it's a virtual world which we're going to physically represent in the coolest way with katanas and motorcycles and just awesome cool stuff. I think he's probably in some ways has disowned himself from this book because it's not very serious. It's entertaining. It doesn't really make much sense, but it's a lot of fun. And what you get in a lot of Neil Stephenson books is him explaining stuff. And while in a lot of other genres, the info dump is not appreciated nor encouraged, there's a certain strain of science fiction where you get guys and women who are really good at explaining things in an entertaining way, which you're like, oh, we're going to have a 20-page diversion while you talk about some kind of tech thing or philosophy thing. It's like awesome because he's really good at that. So if you have had a taste for it, mixed with Bugs Bunny cartoon level violence and hijinks, it's fine if you're in the right frame of mind. This is very 90s cyberpunk. Neil Stephenson's books have a tendency to. This is one of these ones that ends in an actual rave, and I don't know if it makes the ending makes much sense. I love it's called The Diamond Age, or A Young Lady's Illustrated Primer, which is probably the better way. It's got these Victorian sections with kind of Victorian steampunk in it, at least a Victorian tribe within this futuristic world where they're governed by very Victorian kind of rules, or reimagined through an American science fiction writer. And there's a book that educates a young girl who is most definitely not a Victorian, is kind of basically white trash, but given this book, and it educates her into being kind of a great Neil Stephenson heroine in this case, and having the knowledge to make significant change, and it has a lot of appeal that way, even if I find the ending somewhat nonsensical. Probably his biggest biggest thing after Snow Crash claim to fame would be the Cryptocomicon, which is him stepping out from just strictly science fiction to historical fiction. This goes a lot of kind of the code breaking in World War II, has characters that will reappear in his later works. What does it say? Of course, it doesn't actually have a little. It's got all the glowing blurbs and what in oh God, is this okay? In 1942, Lawrence Pritchard Waterhouse, a mathematical genius and young captain of the U.S. Navy, is assigned to Detachment 2702. It is an outfit so secret that only a handful of people know it exists, and some of those people have names like Churchill and Roosevelt. The mission of Waterhouse and Detachment 2702, commanded by Marine Radar Bobby Shafto, another Pinchonian name, is to keep the Nazis ignorant of the fact that Allied intelligence has cracked the enemy's fabled Enigma code. It is a game, a cryptographer chess match between Waterhouse and his German counterpart, translated into action by gung-ho Shafto and his forces. So it's a big chunky book, but it is actually one coherent story all in one book. After this point, Neal Stephenson goes into the Baroque Cycle, which is very well named because it's a book that has a lot of the goodness of this, using stuff like having Leibniz in there, so we're back in that era, like kind of 18th century stuff, but none of it really stuck in my head. It was one of these, like, it became really bloated. We had 3 full things of that. I couldn't tell you. There's calculus, there's monetary theory, I guess there's a story somewhere in there. He became hard to edit. There was an anthem, which was more kind of science fiction again, with this giant leap in the middle of the thing, but it seemed like a novel that was basically there to slowly and painfully explain something, by which I got to the end of, I didn't care about that thing anymore. So yeah, that is sort of where I left off with him. He also did a couple of novels with another fellow under the thing of Stephen Bury. These are more thriller novels, obviously kind of trying to go for, I guess, kind of a Tom Clancy or one of those kind of, I don't read them, so, but more of a mainstream kind of thriller, techno thriller kind of audience. And I'm not that audience, so I don't really have much to say about them. And you know what? I'm saying by my internal timer, which is my arm, which is sore now, I'll just make this the Neal Stephenson little corner of my bookshelf tour. Apparently I had lots to say on him. So I've read a lot of his books. Those ones I've read. Other ones that I've not kept, though that big Baroque Cycle, I had all 3 novels. And yeah, I got rid of them because I knew I was never going to read them again. Never was going to have the time or patience, especially when I could go back and I could read something like the Cryptocom or the Diamond Age. Snow Crash probably less so, but yeah, that's where I'm at with Neal Stephenson. All right, we'll get back to the S's and Swift and Smart and Stevenson later. All right, more later.